There we go. Start in a couple of seconds over here. Thanks for joining, guys. Super excited about today's session with the one and only David Abbas, and starting the session with offers and negotiations, and then we're gonna go to Tina Burke. She'll talk about, share her insight about contract to close, how it happens, and how you maneuver through the process. So okay. Let's see over here. We'll come back to this Sunday lounge vibe, I promise. David Abbas.
Yes.
David Abbas, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Meny?
I'm doing great. I see your sunroof. I like it.
Oh.
It looks good. But that looks better. Okay, there we go.
I'm actually driving, but I'm about to park in 2 seconds.
Yeah. Do your thing. I'll do an intro. I'll do an opening to warm it up.
Okay.
So this is our third session over here in Win with Sellers. 3 out of 4. So we have one more to go, which is going to be next week. And this session today, we're going to have the pleasure to hang out virtually with David Abbas, who will share some cool moments, right? And he's going to share excitement. He's going to share frustration. He's going to share challenges. He's going to be very vulnerable, as he likes to be.
Bring it on.
At times. Bring it on. I love it. So the topic today, guys, is pretty much about offers and negotiations, right? The offer. How do you present that to the seller? How you go about the mindset, right, of the other person. David, by the way, like most agents, is also what I call an investor, meaning or a principal, right? He owns his own property or properties, right? And he's been there, so he would know how a seller thinks as well, right? Not just as an agent, not to discount from that by any means, but that's what we're encouraging the agents to go and purchase and invest, etc. So you will know how it feels to be a principal, right? So David, we have those topics, but I really would love for you to share just a tiny bit about kind of like your, we have tons of people jumping on the call, about your experience, your background, and I'm gonna put you on the spot to celebrate virtually for a minute with all those beautiful people over here. A big success that you just recently achieved with a new listing that you also, you won it against amazing agents, right? Out there.
Right.
So I'm going to talk about that, but share with us for a second about you, your background, and this beautiful shirt.
All right. Sounds like a plan. Okay. Nothing too exciting. My background is I've always been a wannabe realtor in denial, and then in 04 I got licensed, and in 09 I went all in, and I've never looked back. I wish I started when I was much younger, but I think everybody says that kind of thing. So I love real estate. I love what we do. I love the highs and the lows, and I respect the highs and I respect the lows as well. I love our office. I just, I actually enjoy and love what I do for a living. So that's a luxury, I think, that not everybody can say that they do. So many brought up a recent win, not to fast forward too fast, but yeah, this particular win is more exciting for me because it just shows that, if you're patient and you're in touch with your clients long enough, the right way, and not being pushy and not giving up and not just thinking about the deal, you'll get the listing if you do, certain things the right way. And in this case, it worked out for me. I don't win them all, but this one, I just created this challenge to myself, and I was up against two really big other agents that are much more bigger and deserving and have a bigger repertoire of awards and whatever you want to call it. That typically that's how somebody would be selected. And this particular seller, really, we clicked, and it took me 10 months to get this listing. And again, I have other listings, but this one just stood out, and I remember even telling Meny about it, and I don't tell Meny about my listings or buyers or sellers. And I just felt this was like one that I learned something from. I learn from every deal that I get, every deal that I lose, every closing that I have, and even the ones that fall out. So you do have to be vulnerable, which is something Meny said earlier. And I still am, and I'm still learning. But that is a recent one that I guess Meny wanted me to showcase. I think you have to learn about yourself through this business and to be successful. So I'm still striving towards that every day. Honestly, it's an everyday thing. Does that kind of answer that question about that listing particularly?
Yeah, and David is always underplay his talent and achievements because he's a very humble person. By the way, everybody, just make sure to mute yourself when you join the call. Do us a big favor, because you have background noises, and I don't want to drop you from the call. Just help me, please, if you don't mind. Once again, just make sure to mute yourself. Thank you, everybody. David is very humble. He went over against the biggest agent in Los Angeles in volume, and she has a massive team. She has one of the most brilliant, sophisticated listing presentations and whatever. And then he went against another agent. She's also mega successful, super smart. She rules that little neighborhood in prime LA. And here's this skinny guy with this Hawaiian shirt with amazing personality. And yeah, he did schmooze a little bit with this classy presentation, what have you, but he won over those mega, not big agents, mega agents. And I'm giving this shout out because you earned it. Not just, you didn't just win this, you earned it. And I think that in those next like 30 minutes or so, to share that just by presenting what you're going to present and talk about whatever you're going to talk, is just to people to understand your attitude about how you work with people and how you approach it. And that's pretty much the mindset and the secret sauce of success, right? So congrats, David. Yeah, thumbs up. Shout out to that. So look, take us through the part where you're talking about, which I think to most agents, and you shared a few times, right, about the negotiation, right? When it comes to you have a listing, and then offers come in, or a few offers come in. How do you go about that? Because that could be a very fragile, very sensitive part that the agent can either make it happen or can kill the deal of how you present that offers of the buyers that you get to your listing, right? How do you spin it? How do you present it? How do you go about that psychology with your sellers?
That's a good question. You have to set up the expectation of you have to manage your seller first to see we might get into multiples and how we're going to deal with it. And I think you have to handle it, as best you can. This happened to me last week, and I got multiples on a listing that I have, and you got to be fair with everybody, and you have to give everybody a fair shot and keep everybody as best informed about the status on their offer, because these are agents you're going to, probably work again with. And if you hold a certain degree of integrity for yourself and this industry, you won't, you'll do the best you can without showing all your cards. So I'm not, you have to respect the other. I am on that other side a lot as well. So I don't expect, the listing agent to, tell me everything about the offers they have, yet I still want to win the deal. So you have to figure out a right balance where you're doing the best for your client, you're respecting the other agents that have submitted offers, and the word fiduciary, which we're taught, you have to be a fiduciary and ethical. So I just try to do that the best I can, and honesty and just being straight up about stuff, but a lot of it is also a bit of experience too. I've been in this seat a lot now, so or not a lot, but enough to know how it's going to play out. And just be careful. Don't give out numbers, but create the urgency and pick the right offer. It's not always the highest offer. It's the right buyer. Pick the best buyer.
Yeah, and thank you for touching that. I want to ask you something. That was my follow-up questions. And just as a side note, guys, if any of you have any kind of questions that you want to, unmute yourself for a second, ask David, feel free, or you can type in, if you can, don't want to speak, just type in the question. I'll present to David. But so here's that part that you touched on. So you're okay. Hold on. Sorry. There's make sure to unmute yourself if you want to ask questions, guys, because there's a lot of background noise. I apologize. Thank you. So you said it doesn't need to be necessarily the highest offer or what have you, right?
Right.
How do you? So can you elaborate more about that? So you
Sure.
got, let's say you have a property, you got multiple offers, right? And you are so just you go ahead, just talk about that.
Okay.
How do you present?
Well,
how do you know how to shuffle this?
It depends what side of the coin we're talking. If you're the seller side, and it's a really hot listing, I mean, I'm not a believer of having like 30, 40 offers. I think that just means you grossly underpriced it. Okay, that's just me, and I don't have time to go through all these offers one by one. It was an error on the list price. But if I have 5, that's great. 10 is amazing, but 3, 4, 5 is really, you'll see which is the brighter stars in your offers before you even counter. And you have to do your due diligence. You may want to find out the motivation of these buyers, why they're buying, why they want to buy it so bad. Call the lenders, talk to the agents, and you'll tell from the way the offer is written what kind of buyer they're going to be. If there's a story behind it that makes sense and the offer is really clean, then you have a better shot of having a smoother deal than the opposite of that. So I try to walk my clients through it and myself through it to get to know the agent, their follow-up. Is it all complete, the offer? Are they calling me just the right amount to follow up and see how is the process coming? Are you going to counter us tonight? We haven't heard back. Anything else we can do to make it winning, Dave? Like, what do we need to do to make this work? That's what I want to hear. I want to hear not just the dollar amount, but any other items that the seller needs in addition, like terms of shorter escrow, longer escrow, rent back. There's a lot of moving parts to discuss, but you want to figure out a way to stand out to the listing agent. Same thing goes on the other side. When you're writing an offer and you're one of the multiples, which I also am in the situation all the time, you need to find out how to outshine your competition. And that's something you cannot be taught. Sorry to tell it to you that way. You have to trial and error. You do it, you tried this way, it worked, that way it didn't work. Connecting with the agent. It's a chemistry. It's an attraction. It's an experience. And it's not a foolproof system, but you will have a better advantage. Your average will be better the more you find your angle of how to deal with the listing agent. I don't want to say it. It's hard. It is, honestly, it's hard to explain. And I don't have it as like a magic formula either. So everything is a work in progress.
Yeah. Thank you. That was on spot. And we have some questions. I'm gonna address them in a second. But I want to ask you another question about that. Something that you touched and mentioned, very, very important. And guys, one thing that David said, and that's pretty much what it comes down to. it's experience, right? And I think one of the most crucial things is how you pre-qualified your people that you work with. In this specific case, it's a seller. You really need to know what's important to them. It's just like selling the house. Selling the house is just the action that you do in order for them to really achieve something. What this something is, that's how you should dig deep and dig even deeper, understand, because that will, at the end of the day, will help you to address those objections, present the offers properly, and even guide the agency you work with. So David, I have two questions about that. Question number one is, I'll ask mine first. Bryn, I'm gonna ask yours after. How do you go about which agent you prefer to work with? And when I say agent to prefer to work with, you're not calling the shots. The seller is the one that will choose the offer that fits best for them. However, how do you present the offers in such a way that you also make sure that they know maybe what kind of what's on the scale, in the sense of like who you're going to work with? Does it important? And you said you touched a couple of pieces. So how do you weigh those? Meaning, assuming you know the seller objectives, how do you know how to weigh those? Removal of contingency from here or from there in financials. How do you wrap everything around what you see? How do you present that?
Well, everybody wants to work with the easiest routes from A to B. So you don't want to be in a deal with a difficult agent. So if there's two offers that are identical, selfishly, I would rather go with the easier agent to work with than the more challenging personality. But the name of the game is, you want, sometimes, your seller needs a rent back and a buyer can't offer you that. So there's a series of events where eventually the right buyer should be the one that gets the offer accepted. It should organically be that route where due to your seller's needs and what the buyer is willing to do, it kind of connects. But yeah, agents sometimes get in the way of the deal, and we have to manage the other party and ourselves and our clients. But I'm not really that focused. Yeah, the agent, I would like it to be somebody that I can work with, but I can also adapt to most agents, and we have to. That's the business we're in. The same way we adapt to most of our clients, because everybody's different. So that's not an abnormal thing. But it is find out what's important to the seller. A rent back, shorter escrows, longer escrow. I want to keep the chandelier. Or I've lost deals over the silliest things. So now I learn, write certain things on the offer. Don't write certain things on an offer. Deal with certain things in inspections. Be careful what you say. You don't have to just talk to talk, because sometimes you say things that you're excited and you may end up scaring off the listing agent with something you'll say. Like, how old's the roof? Just something that doesn't need to be said. There's just I can go on and on about it. I guess what I'll just say is, have a good relationship with the listing agent and empathize with the seller's position and celebrate the listing agent's good performance, and just do the best you can. I don't know if that answers the question, but it's a tricky question.
No, we like
you
to push
ask good
tricky situation.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's a lot of ways things can play out.
Yeah.
And you have to make every contact. You have to give, ask, and receive, and get a little bit more closer to that acceptance. Find out a little bit more, give a little bit more, ask for permission. Be smart and be motivated and be, I don't know. I don't know. It's hard.
Question for you. Do you ever feel, as the listing agent, do you ever feel that you're being attacked, figure of speech, right, by or pushed or pressured by another agent or agents when they're presenting the offers, or trying to fish for information or get valid information about your listing or about the offer and how to present, etc.?
You mean like bullied into like, get it accepted right now or else, like ultimatums or deadlines? It just depends. either or. I mean, if they're doing it in a way that, look, it just depends on what else I have in my hand. You know, if what I look, very recently somebody did that to me, I didn't like it, but at the same time, that was the best offer we had. So why, what's that old expression? The bird in the hand is better than two in the tree. Did you know that expression, Meny?
I don't speak Yiddish, but yeah.
Okay, so a bird in the hand, I have this, is better than two birds in the tree. So I had an offer. It was great. I was expecting another one by tomorrow at 11, which the offer that I had in my hand would expire. So I'm like, why are we gonna lose these guys and maybe get another offer that may not even be better? So luckily and smartly, I told them take it. They took it, and guess what? The other offer never came, and we would have ended up with nothing if he didn't take it. And it's a good offer, and I'm in escrow now over it too. So I'm also one that I ask permission. I'm like, look, we're writing an excellent offer, 50,000 over, yada yada, but I want to ask you if we can have it expire by tomorrow, 24 hours. I want permission. I don't force things on the other party. The same way I don't want to be forced to do anything.
Right.
Put myself in, and people on vacation, people, you know, that's not the way they operate. So you have to be smart. If that answers the question, you know,
Yeah.
yes, you want to get your point across, but you got to be slick.
You know, and I loved your how you presented it, because I want to touch it in a sense, and you pretty much just nailed it in a sense of you said, you know, this one guy or whatever the engine was, it was that difficult. I'm like, but I didn't have anything else. So it means, and you know, you master a few skills, right? Being a really good realtor is an art that you need to master. It's a skill, right? And I think that one of the things that you're really good at and you really excel at, David, is also to be objective. You never really allow yourself to be too emotional about anything when it comes to the actual decision making. And you know, one of our amazing agents over here, Cindy Bell, mentioned, hey, but make sure that always the buyer is the one, the seller is the one who's making the final decision correct. Absolutely. And it comes back to what you mentioned, David, that, you know what, it's not about me. If the person is, you know, pushy or whatever, maybe that's their style. I'm here to help to broker the deal, right?
Yeah,
so it's not
I
my
look at
decision.
I look at the bigger picture. Sometimes, you know, my seller will get caught up in, you know, that buyer was late 20 minutes, or that buyer wants a washer dryer, and I'm like, look, don't worry about the being late 20 minutes. That time they weren't on time, or, you know, I look at the main, you know, like goal of the deal, like the biggest part of the deal. I don't get hung up on the little things, you know. Yes, I'm very goal oriented or focus oriented, where with what's the best buyer that is the most qualified with the most motivation, like the best reason, not the people that are like, find me a good deal and I'll take it. I don't work with people like that. I want the one that says, if we don't move to this neighborhood by said date, then I don't get to start my job there, and little Johnny can't start school down the street. Those are the people that you want to be in escrow with. The ones that just sold their house and don't have a home to live in, and they're renting month to month and need to move in. You know, stuff like that are the things I look for, not just the writing offers all over town, you know, and whatever sticks. Are you still there, Meny? Because I see here.
Right.
Yeah, you are. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can hear you. Yeah. We didn't lose you. Yeah.
Hey,
Thank
Meny,
you. Yeah.
I have a
Things like that.
question.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, David.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, good.
Hi.
Hey, so you mentioned a little bit about timelines. Now, that's something that we talk about a lot here on the buy side, right? Reaching out to the listing agent and saying, you know, hey, do you have a projected timeline? So do you in your business, or do you suggest, do you review all the offers as they come in? Do you wait and set up the expectations for your seller? Like, okay, we're going to meet on a Tuesday and just go over all of what we have. What is your thought process behind that? What do you suggest?
I don't have an exact, like, it must be this way system. I don't think I don't do that. I'll say, I don't have like, it has to be all offers in on Tuesday. I won't look until then. I have defaulted to let my clients know about them briefly as they come in. It helps me keep order. It also allows me to tell the buyer's agent that I have conveyed to the seller, at least verbally, the bullet points of your offer. And it also allows the seller to know who's writing, in what order, who is their first, second, third, fourth, fifth versus, way down the line. I just find it easier for me to build a relationship with that agent, get a little bit know-how, maybe tell them, hey, can you send me the proof of funds? I didn't get that, like it allows me to mentally keep track. I'm not in a situation where, like, yeah, sometimes I get multiples, but it's not like we're not looking at them. I don't like when I call an agent and I wrote an offer and he goes, oh, I don't even know what other offers I have. I haven't opened up those emails yet. I just don't like that. I don't know what the message is. Is it that you don't know how to talk about it with me? Or is it that you really just don't care, or you really are, that's just the way you roll? I don't know. I like to at least say, oh yes, thank you for your offer. I have it. Well, how does it stand out? Well, I don't know. They're coming in. I already had 2-3 other ones and I have 2 more coming, but at least I can tell you I got it. It's complete. It looks clean. I'll let the sellers, I'm trying to build a bridge. I'm not trying to be on an island. I made that up right there. How you like that? So, it's like
that works.
I talk about it as it comes in because it also helps me remember what's going on, But I'm not in positions like some REO agents, some big agents, they have, 20, 30 offers and they have 10 listings, 20 listings, each listing with the same situation. That's just not me. So maybe somebody else can speak about it better. But for me, I don't like doing it that way. I'll let you know about it as it comes in.
Yeah. Here's another question from the other side, just to close that loop, right? You are on the buyer side, right? And there are multiple offers, and you want to reach out to the listing agent, right? You cannot reach out to the seller directly, right? Technically, not at the beginning. How do you not being too obnoxious and not too pushy at the same time? Like, you want to know what's going on, David. How do you go about that?
Well, look, it's more exciting to be, well, I mean, of course, on the listing side, if you have multiples, you're going to get the deal done and you're golden. But the hunting is when you're on the buy side and you're dealing with multiple offers that the seller has. Just last week, I got one finally accepted after I lost the first 2 offers we wrote. We were one of 29 offers were submitted. They countered 10. We wrote an escalation clause, which don't tell Rich about it, but it was a legal escalation clause. Don't worry, Rich, with a number on it, a ridiculous number.
Rich.
Yeah, with a ridiculous number, and we didn't get the deal. We didn't even get a counter. Okay, so let me just answer it this way by saying how to not be obnoxious is, again, it's some form of an art, and it's always a work in progress. Luckily enough, every question you're bringing up right now is something that I can recently discuss. And I just showed a home on Saturday, multiple offers. They only had 1 day for showings, 20-minute slots. We were the first ones there. And I just wanted to make a more conscious effort to email the assistant to PED and CC the listing agent, be there on time, be there early, build some kind of chemistry, which I was able to do with the agent. Just be confident in what I'm talking about, know what I'm talking about. And then I spoke with her again. I went at her pace, like, you have to ask the listing agent, when are you looking at offers? People have a life too. So don't forget, that just because you are writing an offer on this listing, that listing agent may have other listings, may have plans that night, may be going out of town. So I ask, how are you going to review these offers? When can I get in touch with you? When is a good time for me to call you? Tonight or tomorrow? Give them options. And then I don't have a secret formula. It's an experience thing and it's a work in progress. But you have to, yes, not be obnoxious and not make somebody not want to like you. Not put them in a position where you're annoying. So you don't say, well, you told me to call at 5. and you'd have an answer, and it's 5:30 and you still don't have an answer. I don't want to work. Don't ever talk like that to somebody. You know, you got to look at the bigger picture and just figure it out. I don't know. You have to find a way as a way that makes me want to work with you. You know, it's the law of attraction.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know, sometimes I think, David, that I know whoever is watching as well, it's just a matter of trial and error. If you don't know the person, that's why I always say this industry will never vanish, will never go full
Right.
virtual, because the person, the connection, the human aspect of it is crucial, right?
Right.
And that's why it's important to go out and meet agents and understand what's going on in the industry or whatever, because then you get to know David, and then he has the seller and you have the buyer, and you might not be the strongest offer, but he knows you and he knows what the seller is looking, so the way it might work, right?
Yeah, and I also, look, if it's every time I talk to the agent on the phone, I find out more information, whether they wanted that to happen or not. There's just some degree of additional information I find out that I didn't know before I called you. So I wait. I also don't mind to wait and let offers go in and then find out and just, you have to politely figure out what's it going to take. And honestly, it kind of works. You'll be surprised. It's not foolproof, and some people will shut you down, but it's always worth a shot. It's always worth a shot to figure out how to get a little bit more, because otherwise, why does your client need you if you're not able to get back to them with some kind of value? Okay, they're well over list, but the impression I got from the agent is it didn't hit 900,000 yet. I think we need to come in pretty damn close to it if we want to get a counter. And I mean, you have to figure out the lingo and expectations of how to really put your best foot forward. It's difficult to verbalize, but you just got to feel it and be in touch with that agent. You do have to be in touch with them and find out more from them. Not just be in touch, but find out more.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you. That's a definitely great angle to how to describe it. It's a lot of psychology, pretty much, of what kind of person you're dealing with. Not just the seller, just also the agents. That's how you build, make deals happen. So, David, when it comes to the negotiation part, right? And we can close with that. Last part of discussion is you got the offer. You want to go about countering. Maybe you want to touch. I think one of the most always hottest topics that come mostly from like newer agents, so people like didn't really do many of those, is like best and final or highest and whatever. There's different variations of it. How do you go about counter a single, like one offer versus multiple offers? How do you approach that to the seller?
So I'm the listing agent, and we're sending out a multiple counter offer of best and final.
Let's go for that. Like, how do you, so just to make it a bit clear, the seller don't have obligation to respond to all. He can just pick one and just go with that one, right? By the way, most agents don't even know that, right? Guys, if you get multiple offers, if the seller gets multiple offers, he doesn't have to counter all of them. He can just go with one, right? But that's my question, David. How do you go about what to advise the seller for their safety or for the best out of it? Should you go with that one, or should you multiple counter? And if so, how should they go about that?
Well, I mean, you don't have to counter everybody at the same time. You don't have to counter everybody the same counter. Best and final is a difficult one to do, and I'm not saying do it or don't do it. I think on the buyer side, it's a bit frustrating. On the seller side, it's a safety response, because you never know how much higher a buyer's willing to go. but you know, let's say you have 5 offers. You don't have to send everybody the same one. You could even send one with a dollar amount and see how they respond, or just send one first, and that's your, you know, that's your most favorite, or the one that you think is the best offer, and just see how they respond, and then counter the other ones. Because in a multiple counter offer, the seller is going to sign it twice. Sometimes on the buy side, I'll tell the listing agent, I know you have multiple counter offers. I go, just counter me on a single party counter, you know, whatever you want, you know, your seller's asking. So at least I have a shot to see if my buyers will take it, which will make, you know, your sellers get the most, you know, out of this deal that they wanted anyway on a single party. And that way the buyer doesn't feel like they're being shopped around. So the takeaway is the seller signs it twice on a multiple. And I think that is there's a psychological element to that too. And there's a bit that you lose as a buyer when you're receiving a multiple counter offer. It doesn't feel the same as me receiving a single party counter. So if I receive a single party counter, and even if it's aggressive, and I know as a buyer, or I'm listing agent, and I know that now the buyer has a single party counter that's pretty aggressive, but knows if they sign it, it's their escrow, and they have the final say, there's strength to that, if that makes sense. So there's no exact formula. Again, there is never an exact formula to anything I do or say. It's all based on the circumstances of that deal. It's true. I mean,
Well said.
it's just the circumstance of that deal and what I'm dealing with. But if you want a little bit more out of a buyer and you are in multiples and they receive a single party counter, you may be pleasantly surprised that, although yes, if they accept it, it's a done deal. But if your seller gives them that authority, it may be a win-win. And maybe they will do it and not have to compete with everybody else. Hopefully you guys understand the logic of what I'm saying. You know what I mean by that.
So here is another question, good question, by Alon. What's up, Alon? Have you lost deals because the listing agent wanted to double pop the deal? How do you fill out the listing agent when submitting an offer without offending him, her?
I don't really recall losing a deal from an agent double ending a deal. It may have happened. And look, there are certain agents out there that have a mission, whatever it may be, and they want to double end it. Then you have agents that don't want to double end, and then they'll CC their broker and let the broker handle all the other offers coming in. I mean, I haven't had that in recent years to lose out on a deal like that I can think about. And if that's the case, then you know what? Either that deal's not for me, and if my buyers still want me in the deal, then they may not go after that house. Or if they really want that house, and I don't think an agent can legally force somebody to double end the deal. I can't take away your buyer either. So I'm not the best person to answer that, other than I have not experienced it enough to say how to handle it. I don't think I would ever give my buyers, you know, voluntarily away to that agent, because then that's unethical. So maybe somebody else can comment on that. I haven't had that problem.
Thanks, David. Yeah, and you know, you might have you might been in that situation. You just didn't know about it. It's just back to how you approach it. I'm not saying that, you know, if you look for something, you might come across with it, but you know, at times it will come, you know, come up from time to time. At the end of the day, and it's not a statement, but it's from what I've seen. At the end of the day, it's how you approach about it, and then, you know, same thing. If you have a better offer, we know that the agent's obligation is to go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're right. And listen, I mean, I've had listings, and the buyer, like, I also don't like working with people I don't know. And if a buyer came to me, believe it or not, and I don't know anything about them and they want to write on my listing, they want me to represent them, I would really vet them, and I would really go the extra mile to see, why do you want to buy, what's your story, what's really going on here? Because I'm under the impression, or at least I like to believe, that if an agent is representing a buyer, that they have some kind of relationship good enough that, that they are working for this client. So there are a lot of agents that, believe it or not, do not like the double end deals. I just haven't had, again, a lot of, it is how you approach it. I'll represent them, I'll submit, I guess I wouldn't say no, but I'll let and I've done that before, and I'll tell the seller, this is a buyer, they came to me direct, I don't know them, this is their offer, but here are all the other offers as well. And since I don't know that buyer very well, I probably won't be able to convey too much positive information or negative about them, versus maybe another party that is represented that has a really long, good story that the seller's looking forward to hearing about, that makes them feel good about taking their offer. Don't know. It just depends.
Yeah, good points. Mona has a good question. She's asking, I have a buyer who wants to buy. Whenever I call and ask about homes, she would be interested. There already a bidding war above asking. The buyer isn't willing to submit a higher offer. What can I do in this situation? It's not really it's pretty much off topic, Mona, but I'll let David try to address it.
Well, with the limited information I hear, I would just say, why don't you find him or her homes that are much cheaper, and let your buyer go into a bidding war that will ultimately end them in a comfort price point of where they are happy to buy. So in other words, either they are priced out of this market, or need to step up their game and buy at what the pricing is today, or show them things that are at their price range but going down much more, because you're going to be in multiples, but at least you'll end in the happy place of where they want to be at. Or they're just not that motivated to buy. So the question really is, I need to know a lot more about, why are they buying, how important is it? It's a longer answer than there's more she doesn't know about her buyer. That's what's going on.
Sure. Thank you for saying that, because yeah, so it's motivation, but here is another thing that we've seen multiple times, and it happens through the history of real estate, right? If the buyer is not willing to go over, right? And but that's you guys also, like, as listing agents, like, you understand, like, who you're dealing with, right? The question is, right? And that's what the listing agent also going to ask. A lot of those listing agents, David is also good at that too. At times he will, sometimes it's like, it depends on the situation. He will ask to double app the buyers, right? Like, to really, okay, right, they have the pre-qualified or pre-approved. He's going to say, cool, right, I would like, it's not, you don't have to use my lender, but I want you to just go through the process to make sure that even as a backup, if something's going to happen. So I think, Mona, and the rest of you, do you really know what's the purchasability, the purchase power? Because if your person can purchase up to 800,000 and you're showing her homes up to 800,000, there's no way she's going to get it.
Right.
So
go to 700.
Why don't you show
That's
her?
My point. Yeah.
There we go. There
That's
we go. That's just a different strategy. Yeah. Thanks, David.
Also,
I think they are really. Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, I think it's important that on both sides, and any of our clients that we're dealing with, we're not here to convince them to sell, to convince them to buy. We're here to help facilitate that buy and sell. So sometimes you have to take a step back if you're having a very objectionable client, and reassess, and then maybe attack it from a different angle, right? Don't just go at them and be pushing this information at them and tell them, this is what's happening. So.
Yeah, I think you're right, Holly, there. That's true too. It's like, you got to find out, we are a tool, right? But we're also trying to spend our time as best we can that's all we have, that's our commodity. So if there needs to, maybe Mona and this buyer need to have a powwow, a sit down, and say, look, why is this, like, what can we do to make this more successful for you to get your buyer into a deal? Should we change the price down? Because this price point is a sweet range of multiple offers. So maybe we start lower. Or yes, like what Meny said, maybe she needs to revisit another lender and maybe she can afford more. The rates are ridiculously low right now. But I would find out what the motivation is. Is it just I'm looking to buy? If it's a good deal, I'll buy it, because you're not going to get a good deal right now like that. This is a hot market. You're lucky to pay more, quote unquote, for a house because the rates are so low. So, yeah, everything you guys said is I agree. Yeah, true.
Okay, David. Anybody else? Anybody has questions for David Abbas? Well, we have him on the line over here. I'll make this comment in a second. Cindy Bell. David, anything else you want to add before you're going to jump on your back on your journey?
The market's incredible right now, and forget about COVID and get out there and fight for your deals and fight for your clients, and stay healthy, stay safe, test negative, and stay positive.
I love that. David Abbas.
Yeah.
One last question.
Yeah.
From Alon T. Where did you get that shirt?
Oh, this is it's a Ted Baker shirt, and I wasn't planning on wearing it. This is not like what I wanted to do today, but I woke up on the other wrong side of the bed and I said, you know what? The short sleeve button down, I got to see some clients and let me just see where this goes. So I'm living dangerously, okay? And I'll get you one too, Alon, at the next meeting.
I love it. David Abbas, as always.
Thank you.
Thanks, my friend.
All right, good to see you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to me. I appreciate it. Best of luck, everybody. Stay positive.
Yeah, stay positive.
Okay.
Stay positive. Test negative. David Abbas.
Test negative.
Thank
All right.
you.
I'll see you guys. Thank you.
What a treat.
Thank you.
A treat.
Thank you.
And
take care.
Thank you. Drive safe. Be well. Thank you so much for your time. And
thank you, man.
What a timing, Tina Burke. What a perfect timing, Tina.
Hello.
Oh, Tina Burke.
You hear me okay?
We can hear you. We can see you. You did miss David Abbas prime time with his Hawaiian shirt, but that's okay. It's all recorded. I'm going to send you a copy afterwards.
Just a second.
Tina, thanks for jumping in. I know that you're super busy and you're between clients and everything. So I really appreciate you. Like David, he's out in the field and he was, talking from his car. So really appreciate your time and jump in. We actually have the biggest call today since we started. So it's just amazing to have you guys part of this. So we kind of want to chat and kind of, hear from you, share your mindset. First of all, just a quick background about yourself so people understand like where you coming from, because you have very diverse background and you have an edge. You're not just the average agent. And then we're gonna jump into kind of like talk about contract to close, right? How do you run the ship, this whole crazy 30 days, 20 days, 10 days, 45 days, whatever it is. How do you survive that mental journey to the shenanigans?
With the sellers? Is that what we're talking about today, sellers?
Pretty much. Yeah, sellers mostly. So first of all, just about you for 60 seconds, Tina Burke.
Yeah. So yeah, it could be a whirlwind. I mean, and most of them are 30 days because you have to be very tight with your timelines these days, removing appraisal contingency, which even for me with my 25 years of appraisal experience is like a high wire act. Because even though I have the knowledge about where the property should appraise, I still am not the one putting pen to paper on that appraisal. So, I still have to count on that person who's doing the appraisal to hear me out, if you will. Well, this is the same thing that everybody on this call has to deal with. So when it comes to the escrow timelines, 30 days seems like you're on a rocket ship sometimes. There's so much to do, and you've been looking at property if you're representing buyers, you've been working on getting the listing together if you're working with the seller, and then all of a sudden you just get shot out of the cannon once the offer is accepted or you find a buyer. And so I think the most important thing is just to be organized. I think that is one of the most important things that I try to do, is either get somebody to help you or to try and like get those timelines in order. I use the transaction coordinator, Carla, who keeps me in line. I mean, without that, this would not be happening at all. So I think and you also have to reassure the sellers and in the listings, everybody's coming into their house, they may have children or family members, you've got to stay safe. There's a lot to think about now with COVID. It's even more, there's even more to look at and more to think about when it comes to selling a property and being safe and conscientious and making it happen, seeing it all the way through, for sure.
Yeah, thank you, Tina. And Tina did mention she's also licensed appraiser. I think as long as she's been a realtor. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like pretty much an I don't want to say treat. It pretty much is for your clients, because you're coming from a whole different angle of how you think and how you look at the property, right? Because it's added value. Yeah, I mean, you guys, you don't have to be an appraisal to be a good agent, right? It's just something that really add on significant, once again, edge to Tina and what experience she delivers, right? Mm-hmm. Tina, do you have a game plan, like some kind of structured timeline when you run your deal? Do you have any kind of other additional assistance besides your TC that you mentioned, or you just do everything because of your experience? There's many years in the industry. You're lucky, know what comes next.
Yeah, sometimes I even think so fast that I leave the seller or the buyer behind, which is really, it's not good. It's not ideal. So, because I'm thinking 4 steps ahead of them, and then they're like, wait, what? What's a contingency? And I'm like, remember we talked about this, so we back up and have to review. So it's not that, what my main concern is, if they really want a property, let's say for a buyer, my main concern is to get them to figure out what the property is worth and then be as aggressive as we need to be, or as we can be. Sometimes we can't be as aggressive as I would like, but that's the way it goes. Other times I can be comfortable with removing a contingency like a appraisal if I need to. I don't like to do that stuff, but I think those contingencies are in place to keep buyers protected, and obviously as a seller side, you want to make sure that you have the best buyer and the best chance of closing that escrow. When it comes to how I keep things organized, oftentimes I'm just flying by the seat of my pants, honestly, because I have this whole other business behind that runs its own thing that is on autopilot, and that's the appraisal business. And then this business here. So I'm always like, which hat am I wearing today? Am I an appraiser today, or am I a real estate agent today? And some days I'm both. Most days I'm both. I have a lot of empathy on the transaction side, purchase contract side, when I'm the appraisal, doing an appraisal. So if anybody is, like I just did an appraisal for Robin in our office, and he was like, oh, hey, it was just weird for me to be in a different role with him being, having the seller. So I think it's really important to slow down, for me, and at least for me to slow down, explain the process, have like a sheet of paper or something that I fill out that says, here's the timelines, this is where we're going, this is why we're doing this, and really give either the buyer or the seller a full explanation on kind of like the roadmap to how we get to the end, like a board game almost.
Yeah, that's awesome. And by the way, I hope that Robin gave you some of his Dutch cookies. If not, let me know. I'll have a conversation with him. So here is, let's say that I'm newer, right? I don't have those massive years of experience. I don't have that timeline. Maybe I have a TC, which thumbs up by all means. I mean, you're highly recommend to definitely leverage that to the TC. Definitely one of the best investments, of course, right, is higher TC. But let's say I'm newer, right, Tina, and maybe I don't really evolve. How would you go about that? Like, what's the best advice to give to someone who maybe don't have even maybe you've been around for a while, but don't have really that high capacity like yourself, like listings and what have you? How would you structure yourself in a sense that you will step into it with a bit more confidence?
Into a contract or into a transaction?
Correct. As guiding the seller and guiding, controlling the transaction.
So first of all, you want to understand the necessary paperwork. I mean, I feel like if you get thrown into a transaction, and you don't know the paperwork, you're going to be lost. And then they're throwing around, instead of the name of the, the disclosure, they're throwing around the 3 or 4 letter, shortcut for it, whatever it is, the car forms. So, I would say definitely just prepare yourself ahead of time. And we're going to all have that one deal that the family member gives us to start with. And you can slow that down, because those people who love and know us are going to kind of cradle us and help us, move the transaction along when they honestly know that we're not experts. But then you have the one that, as a newer agent, you might not understand the paperwork. I think it's important to get with through some of the classes and familiarize yourself with what's required. And whether you're filling the paperwork out or your transaction coordinator down the road is doing it, knowing what the contract is, what the disclosures are, why they're there, who they're meant to protect, obviously everybody in the transaction, but getting familiar with what's needed, and maybe set yourself up in the car forms with a template. Go through and practice writing the contracts up. Understand, like, who do you have in your tool, chest that's like maybe a plumber, a painter, a handyman. Having resources for the sellers and the buyers is huge, because they're going to say, the home inspection came in and there's a small list of requests for repairs. They're willing to do them themselves outside of the close of escrow, but do you know anybody? They're going to expect you to have somebody kind of in your arsenal to help them, electricians, plumbers, that kind of thing. So, and understanding a little bit about just how homes are built and what's a big deal and what's not a big deal. But I would say understanding the contracts and understanding the disclosures, and also having some templates and familiarizing yourself to start with. So when someone comes to you and says, what are these disclosures, you can actually know what they're for and why you need them.
That's great, Tina. Thank you. Hey, so I have a good question for you, okay? So obviously this is probably something that's a bit easier for you being an appraiser, but for all of us going on our listing appointments, and how are you approaching this subject in regards to pricing and COVID and how that's changing homes? How are you having that conversation? What kind of things are you saying? How are you looking for comps in the area, that kind of stuff?
So when I look for comps, I try and keep it very tight, but here's what you're going to run up with in doing the tight search. My search is not based on price per square foot, which a lot of you are familiar with. My price is based on homes that are in the same neighborhood or similar, homes that are similar in bed and bath count, homes that are 20% both smaller and bigger, because this is how the appraiser is going to look at the comps when they go to value the property. You can offer, the sky's the limit on a property that your buyer wants, but if you don't have data to back it up, and if the appraiser isn't going to use the same comps that you did, now you're in trouble and everybody's disappointed, the seller and the buyer. So I would say keep your search radius tight, keep it reasonable, and understand that the market in most places in Southern California, at least our market here in Long Beach, is going crazy. So if there's 11 offers, we had 11 offers on the a property I just had an offer accepted on Friday. 11 offers, we won, but we weren't the highest, but we were. What I did personally is said, you know, you're going to have an appraisal issue if you go much higher than this. I'm here to not only remove that contingency, I'll be there when the appraiser gets there and meet them. But you're going to have to keep it tight enough where you're looking at the same data the appraiser's looking at. Because if you're comparing an 11 to 100 square foot home to a 2,000 square foot home just because it's on the same street, the appraiser doesn't care about that. They're not going to look at it. So you have to be realistic with value in a way that is comparing apples to apples. Try never, unless you have, you know, a really oddball property, you're going to try and keep that search real tight. 20% plus and minus of the square footage is an old Fannie Mae guideline. And if your home that you have a transaction, looking to have that transaction on is, or you're taking a listing on, is on a traffic street or has any kind of external issue, find another comp that has that same or similar external issue so you can see what the market says that issue is worth or is going to discount for.
That's great. And also, what is your suggestion or advice in regards to statuses when pulling comps? I've heard some people are using pendings, you know, closed. What would you suggest, again, because COVID is changing everything, right? So
sometimes I get on the phone and call the agents. Locally here, I know a lot of the agents, so I have that. If you're a newer agent and you don't know everybody as well, you know, fear not. People are really very, you know, kind. I think for the most part, most agents will talk to you. They might not tell you what they're in escrow for. Sometimes they won't even tell the appraiser because it's, you know, they're, you know, tight-lipped. But I would say using the pendings, because those are the, when you, on an appraisal, the bank wants to see pendings and actives because it shows them the current market. When you're looking at comps that have sold, you're looking behind you in the rearview mirror of what happened last week, last month, or something like that. So think about that the comps, you know, the market can change not just from week to week, but from day to day. And one comp, so if you have a high sale that just closed in the neighborhood and only one person out of the maybe 20 that offered on it have that ability to purchase that home or are going to be the buyer, now you have 19 more people plus anybody else who's jumped in who are on to the next sale, and they are still your competition. And that's what I always tell my buyers. These people are following us around. You think they're going to go away. The same people that are offering on this house are going to offer on every other house that you're interested in purchasing, because this is obviously something that is in their wheelhouse. So you have to be aggressive with your offer price. But I would use those pending and actives for sure, depending on days on the market. Because some days, you know, some properties have been on there forever, and
yeah,
because they, you know, they went on the market and they were just either priced wrong and they keep having to have price reductions. I saw somebody asking a question about more than 2 miles. If you have to, you know, if there is nothing else that you can do, you can go. I've gone 5 miles, but you know, you have to have a reason to do that, not just justifying sale price. You have to do it because nothing else is available.
Tina, an insider tip, and we get asked this question a lot, right? You're going to the appraisal, and you meet the appraiser. How, like, should I need to impress you? And if so, how can I impress you? Do you like donuts? Is it the coffee? What is it, Tina? What is it?
Younger, I love donuts. No. Yeah, really what they want is to be left alone when they first get there. They want to, in their head, they want to photograph the property, measure the property, look at the property, and then at the end when they're wrapping it up, that would be the time I would say, just to say, okay, well, have a nice package, let them know how many offers there were. These are the comps that I pulled. You know, if you have any questions or if there's a value issue, if you would call me. You know, let them do their job to start with, because, you know, they're on their way to, you know, to do a job. When they roll up in front, they're not really looking for you, they're looking for the house. And that's what they're focusing on in that immediate time. So I would say just let them be until they're about wrapped up, and then discuss with them value, how many offers. I mean, the most important thing that you can say is, we had X amount of offers in X amount of days, because that's their job, is to analyze the current market, not just perpetuate the market from last week or last month.
Well said.
That's what they do sometimes.
Yeah. So just to summarize it, but you know, if I'm, you know, showing up to the property and I'm there, so if I'm approaching you and say, hey, you know, I'm Meny, I'm the listing agent, and I know that you're going to do your thing, you don't really need me, I'm going to be here on the side, do your stuff. If when you finish, just come and see me. If you need anything, I'm right here waiting for whatever it is that you need.
Yeah, exactly. And then
Right.
some stuff I'll give you when you're finished. Just, yeah, kind of stay out of their way. I think for the most part, you know, the misnomer, I think, is that appraisers are trying to kill deals, and they're not. But one thing I really want to make clear, and I'll take off my real estate agent hat and put on the appraiser hat for a minute, and that is, we are not a very well represented group as appraisers. We're
Right.
wolves out there. But I will tell you that if there is a fraud ring that includes an appraiser, a mortgage broker, and a real estate agent, the appraiser, the mortgage broker, and the realtor may get 10 years in prison. The appraiser is probably going to get 50, because what they're doing is messing with the monetary system of the government of the United States, and that's a big deal. So if you ever think about the amount of non-representation, they're not represented. They don't have CAR or NAR or anybody else. All they have is the bank asking them to do an independent appraisal, and they're going to do the best job, but they, at the end of the day, have E&O just like we do as real estate agents, but no representation. So I think it's important to understand that if they are somewhat skittish, or they still have to do their job, you know, they still have to analyze the current market, and that includes, you know, if appraisers just looked back and used old comps, we would never have an increasing market. So we have to do a good job. They have to understand the market that they're in. And don't be afraid to ask the guy who called you from Riverside if they actually know, you know, Sherman Oaks, or Long Beach, because you want a competent appraiser, somebody who knows the area, for sure. That's a big deal.
And I know that you always said, Tina, if someone and you really been an amazing asset as well in that sense. You always say, hey, if you guys, and we have, like, you know, about 30 people on the call, if you guys have any issues with the presence, whatever, you know, they're welcome to reach out to you, and maybe, you know, I use you as a resource for a second just to understand, right?
Yeah, because there's no doubt about it that appraisers make mistakes, and there's a lot of bad appraisers out there. I know I've run into them. I've looked at appraisals for my family, my clients, my, you know,
Right.
and I look at it and just go, what the heck are they thinking? So I was a senior reviewer with Countrywide, and I ran the Western region back in 2003, and all I did
Huge.
senior appraisal, I was appraisal review, and all I did was look at appraisals all day to make sure that they weren't fraudulent or what have you. But or that they were just reasonable. And I think if you get a low appraisal and it's killing your deal, send me an email. Don't text me, because sometimes I get so many texts it gets lost. But if you send me an email, in the line just put appraisal problem, I will tell you straight up if you have a case or you don't. If the appraisal looks right to me, then I will definitely take a peek at it. My best email is Tina, Tina, Burke, Burke 11 @gmail.com. Yep.
Just added it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
You guys just send it to me, because sometimes agents make mistakes in pricing. And sometimes appraisers make mistakes in valuation. So, you know, we're all human beings. We all are doing the best we can. But if they miss something, or they don't accurately count, you know, condition or quality or something like that, then then it's something for us to look at. Don't let a bad appraisal just kill your deal, because I'm happy to review it for you. It takes me literally 5 minutes. I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, and once again, thank you for that. You've been an amazing resource, and well said. It's not, it might happen, but rarely anything will be malicious, right? It's just a matter of like respect the professionals in the industry and approach in a sense of like you there to make the deal and you're here to help someone, right? Buy, sell, what have you. Also from the appraiser point of view. So thank you for that approach and that attitude as always. Let me see. I don't think we skipped any questions. Yeah, Holly, go for it.
Okay. So some of these folks are new here on the call. Some people are kind of reinvigorating and restarting their business.
Yep.
If you, Tina Burke, woke up tomorrow and had to start over from scratch right now during this pandemic, what are some of the things that you would do to help generate business? Or, where would you get going and where would you start by trying to get these listings?
Well, I would start with the people I know. I would start with the people who know me and love me. We all have people who know and love us. And I would start there, just letting them know that you're either getting back into real estate or that you, are starting in real estate. It's tough right now because, I think it's the toughest thing I've ever seen, because the one thing we would all rely on at this particular time would be open houses. Not only our database, but our open houses. So open houses are off the table right now, and it is what it is. It's off the table for all of us. So I would say just reaching out to the people, connecting with people and asking them how they're doing. That would be the very first thing that I've done. I got such great response when COVID first hit. Just sitting on the couch, texting my clients sometime between 6:30 and 8:30 in the evening. How are you guys doing? I was thinking about you. I hope you guys are safe. And you might not have clients, but you do have family that maybe you haven't talked to in a couple months or a year, or friends. Go on your Facebook page and look at all those people and just reach out to them and say, hey, I'm thinking about you. I'm hoping you're good. And I don't even know if I would say anything about real estate, but then I would start posting things about real estate on my Facebook page, just so that they connect you with thinking about them, and then they see something about real estate, and then they'll put 2 and 2 together. They're smart. That's what I would do.
Would you please repeat your email again?
Yes.
Yeah. It's on the chat. Go to the chat. It's going to be easier. Just copy paste it.
Yeah, that's it right there.
Yeah. Just go to your chat on the app. Thank you for asking.
That's great suggestions, Tina. I think leveraging your social media, I think is important, right? That's a great way. We've all talked about, how you're being able to connect with people from all over, right? On your social media, they're able to get to know you and build that rapport, and you're coming from a place of care. So absolutely. But also you made a good point that at the beginning of all of this, many of us sat down and did phone calls and texts to our friends and family, but not a lot of us have circled back and redone this.
I haven't done that. Right.
And I was going to say that as you said this, I thought that it's so interesting because obviously you're not the only one, but I think now is the time to redo it again. There's been plenty of time that's been passed since then, since that initial reach out. Re-follow up. How are you doing? Are you still doing okay? Yeah. Right? Do you need anything? Do you have do you need a plumber? Do you need a roofer? What's going on? I think coming from that place, I think is important, right?
Yeah, definitely. I was just thinking, it must have been within the last 48 hours. Like I texted them to see how they were doing at the beginning of COVID. And then a couple of my clients were having babies or whatever they were doing. And then they sent me the pictures, which was so cool. And then here we are now already 6 months later, just about since the shutdown. And I'm like, or since, COVID really took the wind out of our sail. And now I'm like, I haven't even reached out to them again to see, I had one guy whose family member was affected by COVID, and he was very distraught. And, I said to him, if there's anything I can do, and I sent him just a little basket of stuff, but you know, he was honest with me. He didn't just say, yeah, everything's cool, thanks for reaching out. He was super honest, and he had some bad situations happening with people who were sick in his family. So you never really know. That's why I think leading with real estate at this particular time, until we get a better grasp on what's happening, is always, it always feels wrong to me. You know, I feel like I want to say hi to them, and I don't want to ever ask them if they need something real estate related, because people have a lot on their mind right now. I mean, a ton. And if it's not staying safe with COVID, it's their kids are at home and they're driving them crazy because they can't get back to school. I mean, things are changing all the time. And I just feel, I really feel for people. I think starting from a kind and compassionate place, I think that's always going to be the most important thing to do.
All said, Tina. Thank you. Good question, Holly. And yeah, and I love it as well, because that's kind of like sums up our session with call to action, right? Pick up the phone and reach out to your people and check again. It's been, I mean, 5 months, right? Since March. Unbelievable. Wow. Who would plan? Who would guess? So, Tina, any last thoughts just to close this session?
No, I mean, just keep plugging away. What I will say is, so many times, I always think of this one, the 3 feet from gold. It's one of my favorite stories about the guys who are digging for gold, and they're digging for gold, and you know, they give up and they sell the machinery that they were digging for gold, and then some other guy comes along and buys it, and like he moves over 3 feet from where they were, and they hit the gold. So, you know, you never know. Some days I sit in my office and go, you know, what am I doing today? You know, and honestly, I mean that in all sincerity. And then other days I'm just like, what am I doing today? Because I'm so busy. But it will happen. Stay consistent. Keep doing the things that you're doing, and you know, just stay positive, because it's amazing how things go from stop to go so quickly. They really do. You don't know the seed that you're planted is going to pop up above the ground, and that's for sure.
I love it. Tina, Burke, can't thank you enough, as always, for being out there for us, for everybody. Keep doing amazing things. And thanks for sharing, really.
You guys
appreciate it.
And please feel free to reach out, honestly.
Tina Burke11@gmail.com.
Yep.
Tina.
Okay, guys.
We love you. Thank you so much.
Love you guys too.
Thanks, Tina.
All right, and,
bye-bye.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks everybody for you know, being here on this session 3 out of 4. Next week, Wednesday, same time, we're gonna wrap it up with the last 2 sessions, and let's make it happen, guys. So go out there, conquer, and we're here for you as a resource. Thanks everybody. Take care.
Thank you, Meny. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.